Back in my practice, a 74-year-old patient, a retired architect named Frank, once confided in me. Dr. Evans, I've been doing things the same way for over 5 decades, but lately, something just feels off. He wasn't battling a new illness, nor was he on any new medications, yet something was quietly eroding his vitality. It wasn't the act of self-pleasure itself, but how he was doing it. And he had no idea it was silently harming his heart, his prostate, even his deepest sense of connection and joy. I'm Dr. Ben Evans, a seasoned urologist and men's health advocate with over 35 years of experience, dedicated to helping men over 60 reclaim their strength, circulation, and confidence, without shame, without relying solely on pills, and without guesswork. You see, society often tells us certain habits are healthy, but after 60, some private routines can suddenly become detrimental without a single warning sign. In this video, I'm going to pull back the curtain on 7 common intimacy mistakes older men often make, and crucially, how to correct them before they impact your energy, performance, or long-term well-being. And trust me, mistake number 6 is the one almost every man gets wrong. Let's dive in. Before we get started, if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any future advice specifically crafted for men navigating their golden years. And if this message resonates with you, type 1 in the comments. If you're skeptical, type 0. Your feedback helps me create even more valuable content for our community. My clinic, nestled just outside bustling Denver, has become a trusted haven for men seeking answers to their most private health concerns. It's a space designed for open, non-judgmental conversations, a stark contrast to the silence and shame many men endure. Here, stories like Frank's are common. They hint at a widespread, unspoken struggle that goes far beyond typical aging. Now, let's take a closer look at the first mistake, one that's become increasingly prevalent in our digital age, silently reshaping how your brain and body respond to pleasure. Over the years, countless men, typically in their late 60s or early 70s, have sat across from me expressing the same quiet concern. Dr. Evans, I just can't seem to feel much anymore. It's like my body's gone numb, and I don't know why. More often than not, my simple follow-up question is, how often do you rely on digital adult content as your primary stimulus? And almost every time, their gaze drops, not out of shame, but because they never connected it to the problem. The truth is, after 60, your brain's dopamine system, the very reward center responsible for pleasure and motivation, isn't as sharp or adaptable as it once was. Consuming endless streams of high-speed, hyper-intense digital content floods your brain with more stimulation than it was ever designed to handle. Day after day, week after week, your brain adapts in the worst way possible. It begins to desensitize itself. This means the very natural spark of intimacy, the genuine connection you once enjoyed, starts to fade. Touch doesn't feel the same, your body doesn't respond as readily, and even if you're physically healthy, your capacity to connect deeply and feel something real quietly slips away. It's tragic, because many older men blame themselves, believing they've simply lost it with age. They compare themselves to their younger selves, to movie portrayals, or even to friends they think are doing better, internalizing a shame that isn't their fault.
But listen closely, it's not age, it's overstimulation. And if you don't reset your brain's response system, this kind of numbness can persist for years, even decades, casting a long shadow over your intimate life. So if you've noticed a drop in sensitivity, connection, or satisfaction, don't dismiss it. This first mistake might be the hidden culprit behind it all. Reclaiming your natural responsiveness starts with mindful disengagement from overwhelming digital stimuli. It's about letting your brain find its baseline again, allowing genuine sensation to return. And what's even more surprising, the next mistake has nothing to do with what you watch, but where you do it, and how that environment silently harms your body in ways most men never see coming. If you found the first mistake surprising, just wait until you hear the next one. It's something most older men do instinctively without realizing it, and it's secretly rewiring their body to feel less every time they try to enjoy themselves. This mistake has nothing to do with what you watch, but where you do it, and how that environment silently harms your body in ways most men never see coming. We're talking about the seemingly harmless, even convenient habit many older men admit to, self-pleasure while sitting on the toilet. Over the years, many of my patients have quietly shared that the bathroom has become their private sanctuary. It's not just for hygiene, it's a space where no one interrupts, where the door locks, and where routines feel safe and undisturbed. In the quiet of their homes across the suburbs of Denver or the bustling neighborhoods of Chicago, this little corner offers a sense of privacy. But what most don't realize is that masturbating while sitting, especially on the toilet, is doing far more harm than they think. As men age, maintaining healthy circulation becomes paramount. Blood flow is the bedrock of robust sexual function, prostate wellness, and even your body's ability to recover after climax. However, sitting for extended periods, particularly in that hunched-over, compressed position many adopt on the toilet, severely restricts blood flow to the pelvic region. It puts undue pressure on the prostate, tightens the pelvic floor, and subtly damages nerves that are already more fragile with age. I've observed this pattern repeatedly in my practice. Men in their late 60s and 70s develop issues like post-urination dribbling, difficulty fully emptying the bladder, or persistent aching around the groin. Yet they never connected these uncomfortable, often embarrassing symptoms to this private habit. They'd come in describing these issues, scratching their heads, attributing it to just getting old. But as a urologist who's reviewed countless scans, listened to countless stories, and tracked patient outcomes over decades, I can tell you, this seemingly innocent position can trigger a slow chain reaction. It worsens everything from intimate moments to simple urination over time. The body, much like a well-oiled machine, requires optimal flow and space, and this constricted posture directly opposes that. So, while it feels convenient, know this: that toilet seat is slowly squeezing the life out of your intimate health. The solution isn't complicated, it's simply a matter of awareness. If this sounds familiar, it's time to consider changing your environment and your posture. Stand, recline, or find a comfortable space where you can give your pelvic area the space to breathe and circulate. It's about listening to your body's silent pleas for better care.
Because trust me, your prostate is quietly begging you to stop squeezing it. Now, if you found this mistake surprising, just wait until you hear the next one. It's something most older men do instinctively without realizing it, and it's secretly rewiring their body to feel less every time they try to enjoy themselves. If you thought changing where you do things was surprising, wait until you hear about the next mistake. It's something most older men do without even realizing it, and it's secretly rewiring their bodies to feel less every time they try to enjoy themselves. We're talking about the habit of rushing the experience. One of the most common patterns I see in older men, especially those who've lived through decades of stress, routine, or simply learned to keep things quick and quiet, is treating self-pleasure like a task to complete, a moment to get over with, rather than something to be felt fully. Think about the typical American man in his 60s or 70s. He's likely spent his life in a fast-paced world, where efficiency and getting things done are paramount. This mindset, unfortunately, often bleeds into even the most private aspects of life. I've had patients tell me, "Dr. Evans, I just want to get it done. I don't have time to linger." But here's the critical problem. After 60, your body no longer functions well under pressure, literally or emotionally. When you rush, you send your nervous system into a state of tension. Your heart rate rises too quickly, blood vessels constrict, and the vital relaxation and hormonal benefits of release, like oxytocin, the love hormone, dopamine, the pleasure and motivation chemical, and serotonin, the feel-good neurotransmitter, don't reach their full potential.
You might achieve climax, but your body doesn't receive the true, deeply satisfying reward it's capable of. Instead of feeling refreshed and satisfied, you often feel emptier. Instead of energized, you feel drained. Worse, this rushed pattern teaches your body that pleasure is fast, shallow, and disconnected. Over time, you begin to lose sensitivity, struggle to maintain arousal, and find it harder to maintain interest even with the partner. All the while, you mistakenly believe it's just old age. But it's not. It's the habit of urgency, a habit quietly robbing you of something far more powerful than just a few minutes of relief. And speaking of presence, most men don't even realize they're neglecting one of the most important muscle groups in the male body, a hidden system that controls everything from erection strength to bladder control. That's coming up next, and once you understand it, everything about your intimate health could change. Most men have never even heard of it, yet the pelvic floor is one of the most vital parts of your body, especially after 60. It's the foundation beneath your bladder, your prostate, your sexual organs, the hidden engine that powers everything from erections to orgasms to urinary control. And when this group of muscles is weak or neglected, everything begins to suffer, quietly but profoundly. I recall a man in his late 60s, a former college football player and proud grandfather from Texas, who came to me complaining about a significant drop in intimate performance. "Dr. Evans, I'm eating well, I exercise, but something just doesn't work anymore." What he didn't realize was that his pelvic floor, once strong and engaged during his athletic youth, had grown dormant. Years of sitting at a desk, holding stress in the lower abdomen, and simply ignoring that part of his body had left him disconnected and struggling. When you engage in self-pleasure without engaging your pelvic floor, or worse, when you bear down and push, you're placing unnecessary pressure on your prostate and weakening the very muscles that should be supporting it. Over time, this leads to issues like leaking, dribbling, decreased erection quality, and reduced sensation during climax. It's not something that hits all at once, it creeps in quietly year after year.
But here's the good news. You can reactivate those muscles. This simple awareness can restore not only physical function, but also confidence. So for the rush job, slow it down. Let each moment be intentional. Your body is still capable of deep sensation if you give it the space to feel. Breathe. Pause. There's no finish line anymore, only presence. For your pelvic floor, gently tightening the area you'd use to stop a stream of urine during arousal builds awareness and strength. With time, this simple habit can restore function and confidence. As speaking of confidence, too much or too little activity in this part of your life can actually throw your entire system off balance. You might be surprised to learn that frequency, how often you engage in self-pleasure, can play a much bigger role than you've been told. Let's explore why next. This is a subject many older men hesitate to talk about, walking a lonely, uncertain path somewhere between shame, confusion, and outdated advice. Some worry they're doing it too often. Others quietly wonder if they've gone too long without. In my practice, I've seen a clear pattern emerge. Both extremes can cause harm. When a man engages in self-pleasure too frequently, perhaps out of habit, boredom, or unresolved emotion, his body often can't keep up. Energy levels drop, prostate tissue can become irritated, and over time he may notice it takes longer to recover, or that his interest in genuine intimacy fades. It becomes less about desire and more about routine, which dulls the nervous system and drains vitality. On the other end, some men stop altogether. Maybe it's due to medication, health concerns, past societal guilt, or simply the belief that they're too old now. But what they don't realize is that the body, like any complex system, needs regular circulation.
Sexual arousal, even without climax, helps maintain blood flow to the genitals, nourishes nerve endings, and preserves erectile strength. When that's absent for too long, atrophy sets in, desire fades, and the door to connection, both physical and emotional, begins to close without warning. There's no perfect number, but for most men over 60, 1 to 2 times per week, done consciously with presence and care, is often the sweet spot. It allows the body to maintain circulation, restore hormonal rhythm, and keep the system alive without exhaustion. Remember, this isn't about rigid rules, it's about listening. Your body speaks quietly in older age. The key is learning to hear it. And yet, even when frequency is just right, one common mistake can still undo all the progress. It's something most men do instinctively without realizing it's damaging their nerves and subtly changing the very shape of their manhood. Let me show you what that is next. Using too much pressure or force.
This is arguably one of the most overlooked and damaging mistakes I witness in older men. I can't count how many patients have sat across from me, frustrated and confused, saying things like, "Dr. Evans, I don't feel as much as I used to," or "It's taking more effort than ever." And behind those words is often one silent habit they never thought twice about: applying excessive pressure when they engage in self-pleasure. I understand it. As sensitivity naturally decreases with age, the instinctive response is to grip tighter, press harder, or try to recreate that lost feeling with intensity. But here's the blunt truth your body is trying to tell you. Force doesn't restore feeling, it destroys it. The nerves in your penis are delicate, especially in your 60s, 70s, and beyond. Years of aggressive friction, hard squeezing, or relying on objects or surfaces that apply excessive force can lead to real physical damage. Micro tears in the tissue, loss of elasticity, even scarring beneath the surface, which may cause curvature, reduced blood flow, and pain during arousal. This isn't just uncomfortable, it can permanently alter your anatomy. This kind of trauma is a silent thief. It doesn't appear overnight. It builds slowly, and by the time you notice the difference, the damage is often well underway. But there's another layer to this. When a man feels he has to fight for pleasure, he disconnects from the joy of it. It becomes a struggle instead of something healing. That mental pattern alone can reshape the body's ability to relax and receive. So please adopt a gentler approach. Your body deserves it. Your future self will thank you. For frequency, remember to listen to your body's signals for balance, avoiding both excess and deprivation. And speaking of disconnection, there's one final mistake that goes deeper than technique, deeper than the body itself. It's something spiritual, emotional, and all too common among older men, and it might just be the most damaging of all. Let's talk about it. We've explored so many of the physical and technical mistakes men make. But now we're diving into the final, most invisible, and often most heartbreaking mistake of all. It goes deeper than technique, deeper than the body itself. It's something spiritual, emotional, and all too common among older men, and it might just be the most damaging of all. Let's talk about engaging in self-pleasure without emotion, connection, or intention. Over time, many older men begin to view self-pleasure as something mechanical, routine, empty, stripped of meaning. It becomes a quiet escape from loneliness or a dull habit done without thought, without emotion, and without true intention. I've spoken with so many men in their 60s, 70s, and beyond who say the same thing. It doesn't feel like it used to. Or, I don't even know why I bother anymore. The truth is, their bodies may still function, but their hearts aren't in it. There's no presence, no warmth, and crucially, no genuine connection. That emotional distance takes a profound toll, not just mentally, but physically. When self-pleasure is disconnected from emotion, it trains your nervous system to expect pleasure without purpose. You might still climax, but your brain and body don't release the same healing hormones. You don't get the oxytocin that boosts mood and fosters bonding, or the full surge of dopamine that truly builds motivation and satisfaction. Instead, you're often left with a sense of flatness, a shadow of what the experience used to be. Even more deeply, this practice reinforces the idea that pleasure is something you do alone, in silence,
without joy. But that's not how it has to be. Even solo touch can be sacred, mindful, and affirming. It can be a moment to reconnect with your aging body, not in shame, but in gratitude.
Your body is still yours. It still feels. It still matters. Now that we've explored all 7 mistakes, let's pull everything together. Because the real transformation begins when you understand how to rebuild, how to reconnect with strength, confidence, and vitality at any age. If you've made it this far, I want to speak to you not just as a doctor, but as someone who deeply respects the journey you're on. Over the years, I've watched so many good men struggle in silence. They blame age. They blame time. Some even blame themselves. But the truth is, no one ever truly taught us how to care for our bodies as they age, especially when it comes to intimacy, pleasure, and connection. You've just heard the 7 most common mistakes older men make when it comes to self-pleasure. And none of them stem from laziness or ignorance. They come from habit, from decades of doing what used to work, not realizing that the body, like life, changes. Slower circulation, a more sensitive prostate, a nervous system that no longer tolerates force or neglect, a heart that longs not just for sensation, but for meaning. Let me be clear, there is nothing shameful about touching yourself. There is nothing shameful about seeking comfort, relief, or even joy through your own body. What becomes dangerous is when we stop paying attention, when we rush, when we disconnect, when we assume that what once worked will always work. You see, every one of those mistakes, using digital content too often, engaging in poor positions, rushing the process, neglecting the pelvic floor, doing it too much or too little, applying excessive pressure, or going through the motions without emotion, has one thing in common: disconnection. And that's the real threat. Not age, not desire, but the slow erosion of your connection to your own body, your own pleasure, and your own vitality. But here's the good news. It's not too late. It never is. Your body is still talking to you, even if it's quieter now, even if it takes longer to respond, even if things don't feel the same. It's still alive, and it wants your attention, your care, your respect. Just like a classic car, it needs different handling with age, but that doesn't make it less valuable. In fact, in many ways, it makes it more sacred. So what do you do now? Start small. Be gentler. Be more mindful. Relearn the landscape of your body. Use intention, not habit. Use curiosity, not shame. Stop chasing performance and start honoring sensation. Don't be afraid to breathe, to pause, to feel. And most of all, don't stop believing that connection is still possible within yourself and with others. I've seen men in their 60s, 70s, even early 80s turn their health, their intimacy, and their energy around once they stopped seeing aging as the end and started seeing it as a shift. You deserve that shift. You deserve to feel again. You deserve to live with awareness, strength, and dignity, even in the most private corners of your life. Because at the end of the day, this isn't just about avoiding mistakes, it's about reclaiming the quiet power that's still within you. And I promise it's still there. Now take what you've learned, apply it gently, and remember your best years are not behind you. They're in how you choose to live this next chapter, with care, with wisdom, and with pride. If this helped you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with another man who needs to hear it.